Delana Dixon. I'm the editor-in-chief of Diva Gals Daily. I'm also one of the co-hosts of the VH1 show, The Gossip Table, to get your celebrity gossip news every morning live starting March 3rd. So we have a great last panel here in our Color of Beauty panel discussion. We're going to be talking about Black and Brown beauty to our audience. So just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us. Now, the beauty market worldwide makes sales of approximately $426 billion, with 1/3 of the U.S. market identifying as multicultural, and that's spending power rising faster than the U.S. average of that audience. How are today's beauty companies responding to the needs of the market? We have brought together an esteemed panel to talk and explore connecting with the Black and Brown beauty consumer. So we're going to start with Melanie Martin, who is the Style and Beauty Coordinator of Ebony.com. We have Nana Meriwether, Miss USA 2012. We have a supermodel pioneer and icon, Beverly Johnson of Beverly Johnson Enterprises. And we have Danika Fraley of Estee Lauder. Thank you, ladies. We're going to just start right at the head of the panel, and we'd love to tell you, we'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your business and how you got into the beauty realm.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie, and oddly enough, I began as a beauty intern for Ebony magazine 3 years ago, and was more obsessed with beauty for brown women than anything. So for me, channeling that into .com was smooth sailing. But with digital, I really just realized that there was more opportunity to speak directly to the audiences and to actually touch and reach women of color when it came to beauty through videos and through how-tos and through social media. So I pushed to move to digital while at Ebony and sort of just climbed the ranks to become the beauty and style coordinator, with contributing each week stories on beauty reports and attending Fashion Week as an intern, and eventually just proving myself and getting hired to become the beauty and style coordinator. So it kind of began there.
Good morning, or afternoon by now. My name is Nana Meriwether, and I'm Miss USA 2012. I began my business in beauty, I guess, in my mid-20s. I was an athlete prior to this. I played volleyball for UCLA. I played professionally in Puerto Rico and trained for the Olympics. And as an athlete, you seldom feel beautiful. I spent most of my days in sweatpants, no makeup, and I retired, and I still missed competing in something. So when my friends recommended I run for Miss California USA, I was living in LA at the time. And it took me 5 years to finally win a state title and go on to Donald Trump's Miss USA. And it was a long journey. You feel ugly when you lose. So it took a lot of character building and confidence building to come back every single year. And I finally won my home state of Maryland, and I went on to Miss USA. And yeah, my story is just a story of perseverance and really growing and learning.
Hi, I'm Beverly Johnson, and you just told my story, but I wasn't Miss America. It's really interesting that you had mentioned about being an athlete growing up. I was an athlete also growing up, so I guess that's where you get your competitive spirit. And it's just so wonderful what you're doing with Ebony, and it's so important to have that kind of young energy, and what you're doing for them on the social networking, because that's where everything is. And it's Ebony is a legacy, and I mean, it was in my home. It was the only magazine we had in my home growing up. And to know that it's going to be in good hands with you means a lot to me. I'm doing my memoir, so buy my story. But I am doing my memoirs with Simon & Schuster. I was the first African American to grace the cover of Vogue in August 1974. It will be 40 years. 40 years. And I was like you at that moment, just starting off, and didn't know the impact that that cover would have for women of color right around the world. It gave them someone to look at and say, wow, I am beautiful. And now living in America, particularly where we were not accepted in mainstream America or by Madison Avenue, they finally said, not only black is beautiful, but blacks make dollars and money. So it wasn't only about putting me on the cover because they were doing something good for me, which was, or good for us, people of color, but also because it made sense economically and bottom line. So I'm just very honored to be here to speak to everyone who wants to know more about my story and my journey, and thank you very much for having me.
Hi everyone, I'm Danika Fraley. My story is quite interesting, and I really owe it all to my dad. He's a part-time jewelry professor at Fashion Institute of Technology, and he's been there for like over 20 years. And so I'm in high school, I'm trying to figure out what do I want to do? It's hard at 17 to figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life. And he's like, you're going to FIT. And I was like, oh, Dad, come on. Like, I don't want to go there, you work there. I don't, you know, I want to do my own thing. And so he said, no, they have this program that I know you're going to love, and it's a cosmetic and fragrance marketing. And it was the first in the world, actually, to dedicate a marketing field to cosmetic and beauty. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Maybe that's something I do want to do. And I went into FIT, and from there, it's history. I had some of my best moments. At FIT, I traveled to Barcelona for the World Retail Congress. They selected 200 applicants, and there were 2 of us that went. And so through that, I was doing PR. I was like, oh, I want to get into everything that has to do with beauty. So I was interning at Carol's Daughter. I interned at Shiseido Cosmetics America. I was at Victoria's Secret Beauty. I was at Givaudan Fragrance Corp. And it was just so many areas. I didn't know where my focus was, but I know I had to rest in beauty. So after graduating, I hit the pavement searching for a job, and my boss at Victoria's Secret Beauty at the time said, I have a friend at Estee Lauder, they're looking for someone. And I thought, Estee Lauder, that's a little bit of an old company, you know, I didn't know much, but I said, I'll go. And I really went in there and said, wow, I'm amazed. They own so many companies, there's so many ways I can move, I gotta be here. And months later, I started as a product development coordinator, and now I'm a product specialist, and I'm working for Aramis Designer Fragrances, and we support the color launches for a lot of the fragrance that we push out. So most recently, Michael Kors we launched, and Tory Burch, and also the think tank on the innovation side, where we kind of just blue sky ideas, blue sky concepts that we are trying to figure out how we can place into the market, and one heavy push is African American and multicultural beauty. So that's my story.
Danika, there's going to be a lot of clapping on this panel, I can tell. So Danika, since you brought that up, I actually want to ask you, I'll start with you and then anyone else can jump in. What are some of the key beauty needs that particularly relate to the ethnic or multicultural consumer?
Right, so we do a lot of trend research and a lot of consumer feedback. We work with Mintel, which is a corporation that really gets all these concepts and ideas. They do panels and studies. And one thing that we've noticed about targeting the African American ethnic consumer is there's got to be a sensorial, almost emotional feel tied to whatever you're developing in your marketing strategy. We love to feel that you're speaking directly to us. We love to know that your products and your formulas are for us. They work for our skin. They're not just something that was in a previous bottle that you jazzed up to make it look appealing. So one important thing is getting that emotional connection with your consumer. That's something that's really important.
Anyone else on that one?
Well, I just wanted to say, when you see me on my my iPhone here. I'm just taking notes because these ladies are really fascinating. I have my cousin here, John, who graduated from Hampton and who wants to go into retail and he wants to intern and he needs to hear this. And I just wanted to say, Melanie, and this is really great what you're doing.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you to Maureen as well, mostly her. So I'm going to move on to Melanie. Working for Ebony, what are some of the beauty companies and brands that are already meeting the needs of the multicultural consumer that you've seen in your work?
That's a great question. Oddly enough, more than I saw growing up, but I will say specifically, definitely Estee Lauder, CoverGirl, MAC, NARS, Fashion Fair. These companies are really focusing on understanding skin tones and undertones with Black women, multicultural women, ethnic women. And that's been one of the biggest concerns with women of color, undertones with foundations, feeling inclusive in the new technologies such as the BB creams and the CC creams. So I think those companies, in my opinion, are really doing their best to cater to an array of women of color and their complexions and their skin tones and also their skin needs, because you can figure out the skin tone and the undertone, but then what if she has acne? What if she has an oily T-zone or whatever the issue could be? I think those companies are best reaching out and actually catering to women of color when it comes to those special needs.
Wonderful. And Nana, obviously, being in the beauty pageant realm, makeup is a big part of that. What are some of the brands or secrets that you've found that works for your skin?
Well, there's a lot of traditional ways to apply makeup and use beauty products, but it sometimes doesn't work for African American women, and a lot of the tutorials and how you learn are catered to other types of skin. So for me, it's been taking all the tips and tutorials that are out there and trying to cater them to my skin. For example, using concealer under your eyes, it's different because we're different type of skin color. So it's hard, but I think that with the growth of social media, it's good to have, like me or other role models in the public eye who are African American women to speak about beauty and makeup application, so that a better audience can learn from it.
Yes, I was going to say, since you have 40 years, though you don't look a day over 21, how have you seen beauty products change for multicultural women and Black women?
It's been an interesting journey. I started the business when not only there weren't many brands catering to African American, but to our multicultural community in the way of makeup. So, and also in the way of photography. I mean, the actual film wasn't developed to capture our skin color, Kodak. So everybody kind of realized that we need to do this, and we've had some really good brands over the years. Ebony, Fashion Fair, and Vera Moore. I can think of a number. Iman is doing some great things, and I understand. Companies like an Estee Lauder, these huge companies, and their interest in diversity in the multicultural community, because once again, it comes down to bottom line. But I've been really fortunate. There was a woman that came to me and said that there is this woman who has this amazing mineral makeup line, and I'm going, mineral makeup, we know Bare Essentials, we can't wear that, we don't want to look gray. It's not for us. And she says, no, just take, take some time and meet this woman in Washington, D.C. She's an engineer, and her mother is Russian, and her father's Nigerian. And she grew up in London, and she had very bad skin. And what she did was she went in her kitchen and she made this mineral makeup. So I'm in her home. She married a big wig guy at Carlisle Group, and she has twins and another son. And She brings in this array of women, from white to the deepest, darkest color women, and she had a number of makeup artists. And I just sat there, you know, a non-believer in mineral makeup, because it doesn't cover it, it makes you look gray. And she did this demonstration, and I was like, okay, I'm blown away, but now the real test, me. Okay, I go in her bathroom, I wash off my makeup, and it is the most phenomenal makeup I have ever used. Not only is it natural, it doesn't rub off, but it has the coverage that we're all looking for. And it also has a makeup that, as the day goes on, you look prettier and prettier, because it adapts to your skin color. And it's just not one color, so there's an array of different foundations of mineral makeup. But I'm just saying that it took this woman, you know, with all of the brains and the technologies that and the scientific genius that we have, but it took this woman and her passion to make something for her to come up with this mineral makeup. And I brought in my business partner, Brian, which you've met, who I've got off Wall Street. He's my partner in love and my partner in business. He's built many business, and we purchased the IP. So look out for this brand, and look out Estee Lauder.
Oh, well, taking off from that, I think about a company like Fashion Fair that has obviously embraced and honored Black beauty since its inception. And I'm wondering how important it is to have beauty ambassadors and spokeswomen of color to represent a beauty brand. And I'll open it up to the floor.
I would say that its importance now, in my opinion, is huge, especially if you are reaching through niche markets. Now we have tons of MUAs on YouTube who are specializing in how to do the best smoky eyes, how to apply the lashes, how to do theater makeup, how to do the natural look. I mean, you can find anything on YouTube, and a lot of these YouTubers are becoming small ambassadors for companies, and it makes everyday women feel like they're included in the conversation. And it's no shade to celebrities who are a part of, you know, the big ad campaigns, but sometimes it's almost aspirational when you look at them, whereas you're watching a YouTuber and it's inspirational because you feel like you could do it, because this is a woman who's in her room applying her makeup, in her mirror, and it's not fancy and it's not edited perfectly and it's like 5 minutes long, but you know what? She captures everything that you need to learn just to do your makeup, to go out with your girls. And I think it's something really special about social media in that aspect. And like how we've seen Michelle Phan, we've seen just a lot of these women just come on as ambassadors for these beauty companies, large and small and in between. So I do think being an ambassador, or having an ambassador for your company is important. I just think that finding the right ambassadors, and I can honestly say, even with a company like CoverGirl, who's gone, you know, above and beyond with celebrities, they were smart in how they got Janelle Monáe, who's really, really just edgy and almost quirky, but it's so inspiring to see how she's stuck to who she is in terms of her image and what she represents as a cover girl. And then it's inspiring to see Pink, who's like a punk rocker and who's really like, you know, out there. And then you have Sofia Vergara, who's like beautiful glamour, like that's all she's about. So you see these three women in one ad and you're like, whoa, I can identify with one of those women. So I think that companies are starting to understand that we need people who can represent, if not each aspect of our company in general, and also reach this audience that we're trying to reach.
I would say, just piggybacking off of that, I feel like as African American women, we are our biggest spokesperson. My friends come to me all the time. What do I do? I need this. What can I do? I see you wore this. Oh, you're glowing today. What do you have on? So I feel like the conversation, we always are starting the conversation. And I think if brands start to communicate in that avenue, in that direction of it being, again, aspirational and a conversation piece, then that is what will really take it to the next level. But again, with the CoverGirl models, it's just such a well-rounded balance that you're starting to see round out. Even for Estee Lauder, they have Asian model, they have an African American, a Caucasian, all in one ad. So they're trying to reach that message like, we can serve you. But I think it's important that brands really start developing for us. And not just saying we can include you too, but really specifically include us.
Yeah. And just to add, I think it's very, very hard to be you these days. Especially in high school, I don't know how kids do it. I think with the growth of internet and social media, you're constantly hit with negativity. And even me, and I'm sure with all of you in a position of power or you're a role model, it's so easy and transparent to see negative things said about you. With that said, when you have a brand ambassador, there's a venue to speak positively and, you know, turn the culture of negativity online. And yeah, I just believe that being a brand ambassador, and I've done it for a couple companies, I've gotten to tell my story and where I come from, and girls can start seeing me as a human being and not just Miss USA, and they can relate to that and therefore buy the product. So it's a great way to, you know, become human and personalize a brand.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of images, as we all know, as young girls, we look for images that we can aspire to. And Ms. Johnson, I obviously, as you know, one of the first black models, or the first on the cover of Vogue, that's just something that I'm sure lots of women were inspired by. How have you, the beauty realm changed, do you think, for women when it comes to advertising, magazine covers? What have you seen over the span of your career, and how do you feel about it?
I feel that, you know, we've made a lot of strides and we've taken a lot of steps backwards. You know, we can just, you know, look at the runways in Fashion Week. And I didn't attend last year, and I literally told designers, you know, if you don't have any women of color on the runway, please don't invite me, because I don't really want to insult you, you know. But for me, that is just disrespectful. We are such, culturally, we're doing what we do from ancient history time. This is nothing new for us, what we're doing. And we've contributed into the beauty business and the fashion industry in such gigantic ways, and for, you know, us to be totally dismissed is unacceptable. But to get back to going on YouTube, I learned everything on YouTube. Okay, you know, if I want to learn how to make my part, then I'm going to, how do I make my part look more natural? And it's there, you know. And it was really interesting when I was, you know, I hope I'm not getting off topic. I branded my name before branding was what it is today, and I had my first line with Beverly Johnson Eyewear in all the Marine optical stores. This is 1990, before some of you were even born. But and then I went on to Beverly Johnson Wig and Hair Extension line, which was really a great licensing deal that I had with a Korean company. But of course, you couldn't buy Beverly Johnson wigs anywhere but in the Korean beauty supply stores. You couldn't buy it in your beauty supply store, or you couldn't buy it in Walmart. But what came from that was going online and going to YouTube and seeing, you know, I got my Beverly Johnson wig here, you know, she's eating a sandwich, and she puts it down, and she goes about explaining the wig and what the wig cap looks like and how she styles it, and it's just amazing, you know, and that's where I think the future is, as far as beauty goes, because these women are going to tell you the truth, yeah, right. You know. And since then, I've decided, I had an epiphany that, you know, one thing I always wanted to do was to go into business for myself. So I did not re-sign with this Korean company because I wanted to do my own business, and I wanted to do my own quality, because of course the quality of the wigs and the hair, they start going down, and I didn't really want to be associated with that. So I've been really blessed to see the industry change from, you know, the Chinese, Korean domination, and these are all in our communities, the black beauty supply stores, now to the Indian hair that we have, which enables me, I have an Indian partner, in order to participate in an industry that we totally support, but we also need to have ownership of also. So that's where I'm going in the beauty industry. Not that I will own every product in my product line, because there will be some licensing, but I want it to be authentic to me. It's like the woman who made the mineral makeup line. This is, and if these things come to me, there's so much value for me, not only in the product, but in the story and where it came from. And so that I can communicate that story to some others, so that, my cousin, or nephew out here can be inspired by, and to go into not only just, wearing the product, but actually, owning the brand, or getting into positions like these young ladies to represent the brand and really, participate fully in this billion-dollar industry.
Absolutely. And obviously, when it comes to women of color, hair is a huge topic. We actually had two hair entrepreneurs on our last panel. So I'm going to go to Danika, and I wanted to ask about Estee Lauder and other companies. How are they speaking to this need of multicultural hair and our concerns when it comes to maintaining our tresses?
Right. At this moment, Estee Lauder owns two hair care companies. So there's Ojan, and it's Bumble and Bumble. So Bumble and Bumble, as many of us know, really isn't for us. It's all about the beach waves and the bounce and the body and things like that, and we really don't need that. I don't need a beach wave. But Ojan definitely is doing a push to really speaking about scalp and growth, and it has a background of a more natural, botanical, some rare ingredient out in the Fiji Islands that can help in your, hair care in beneficial ways. So I think Ojan is really going to be what leverages us to get into the hair care. But I think it's just so interesting about hair because it's natural, it's weaved, it's braided, it's dreaded. So it's really trying to figure out what your brand is going to speak to and really just blow that out.
When I was competing, I not only had to cross the threshold of being perfect all the time, I had to overcome my skin color and appeal to the mainstream and to the judges, so that they could see me and not just, oh, she's a black girl, there's another black girl, oh, now 2 black girls made the top 5, 1 has to be eliminated. So I had to overcome that, and it's tough. I did wear extensions competing, but I'm telling you, even the white girls or Asian girls did. It's just a part of the culture. Miss USA is an illusion. She is a brand. She is to be unattainable. So the girls you see compete on stage, it's an hour after competition, makeup's off, we look like aliens. So I think it's just a part of the culture. Even if you did have natural hair, you'd do something to it, like curl it or pin it up. It's just part of the culture. I don't know. You can compete in braids if you have that confidence and you can appeal. I think it's possible. You just have to. It's about the girl, I think, and how she appeals to judges and an audience.
Ms. Johnson, can you speak a little bit about wearing your hair back in the 70s when natural was big, and actually how it's coming back 40 years later, the natural hair care trend, and kind of a little bit about the wig situation and why you decided to start a wig line.
Yes, I think when I think of hair, I think of fashion. I think of it as an accessory. I think of trends and styles and styles and the hair extensions that we've created for everyone. When I was doing wigs and hair extensions with this Korean company, I never even I wasn't wearing hair extensions or wigs, and I was told at that time, you can't do that. You know, people are going to say, you know, what are they going to say about you? And you know, it was just instincts that I went with this company, and fortunately, it turned out to be a very lucrative situation for me. But it's about who you are and feeling good about yourself, whether it's your natural hair. I mean, I was just, you know, I had my hair by a hairdresser here in New York, because, you know, I'm always dabbling around with ladies like you to find out more information. And she said, "My God, you gotta wear your hair out because it's so long." I said, "I do once a year, but then it's just so much work. You know, it's like, you know, I can't deal with the weather and the straightening, the combing, and the curling irons, and it's just easier." So it's just a matter of choice, and like you said, it's about, you know, being confident in how you want to look and how you want to present yourself. But I really think it's funny that you see a lot of the young women saying, you know, I'm going natural, but they have, you know, extensions for the you know, the curls and the twist, and, you know, it's all kind of, you know, it's kind of bought natural. You know, it's natural when it's bought. But like I said, because it's a trend and it's a style and it's fun, and we've been doing this from the beginning of times. And I have books on Africa where, you know, you spend 8 to 12 hours doing some particular hairstyle, and so we're just doing what we do. So
I love that. I think this will be my last question, then I'll open it up to the audience. Obviously, there have been so many changes over the years, speaking to the multicultural beauty market. But what are some of the things that you'd like to see professionally or personally happen for the multicultural movement when it comes to beauty?
I really want to see us starting to support one another. I feel like a lot of times we, it's funny because I had a friend and I was like, oh, there's this new nail salon that's Black owned. She's like, I don't want to go to that. And I'm like, well, why not? Like, it's Black owned, let's support, you know? And I feel like we get so lost in not supporting one another and not really pushing our businesses and not supporting our businesses. So I really would like us to start our own companies and support them.
One thing for sure that I'm trying to do with Ebony.com is create a space where we're actually featuring these Black men and women who own companies in the hair and beauty and fashion business. It's almost kind of hard to find the information. You know, I remember talking to a friend one day, somebody might steal this idea and become a millionaire off it, be fine with that. But I was saying somebody should create a website where it's just nothing but African American or Black owned or multicultural focused salons and businesses, like a complete almost yellow pages for that, because I don't know. Right. And I have to search, and I'm an editor, and I have to like literally ask friends, like, do you know this person who works here? And it's almost, I'm almost closed-minded too, because I'm in New York, so I don't know who's in Alabama, I don't know who's in DC, I don't, you know, it's so hard to get that information to support sometimes. So if anybody wants to take that idea and do it, please do it, because I would go to that site every single day. Right. But I do want to see more support just in the magazines. I understand advertising and I understand the dollars and, you know, how it makes sense, but if you can find a way to feature, you know, these owners and businesses that are Black owned, I think that would really help grow their, you know, their revenue and just their brands. So that's something I'm definitely trying to push for at Ebony.com for sure.
Have you met Karen from True Indian Hair and Deborah from
hello, Karen.
How are you? How are you? We'll make the introduction afterwards. No.
Speaking of your point, I'd love to see the culture of the internet change to be positive. It's so hard, I think, getting so many negative comments every day.
You can't read them.
I know I don't read them, but why are they there?
You can't read them. My daughter tries to slip in a few things, you know, about somebody said something about my weave on. I said, don't tell me.
Yeah, good point.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Love and light.
Exactly.
Love
exactly. And beyond that, my mom's South African and my dad's American, so I always grew up with a global perspective. So I'd love to see us learn from other cultures and not just draw from America, but see if we can learn from South Africa or any other culture out there. So.
I'll let you close it up.
Yes. I do see a lot of support with women and black women supporting black women. I mean, that's what we always have done. Of course, we'd like to see more of it, and we have venues like this to encourage us to do just that. My contribution in that aspect is, one person at a time. If I can say something to you, a kind word to you, if I can say something to you, and because, of course, I'm doing my business and, I'm doing this, global company, but I think that each one of us can just take the time to say one kind word about each other or tell someone else one kind word about someone, because every kind word you tell someone is told 75 times to another person. And unfortunately, every horrible thing you say to another person is told like, yes, 1,000 times. So, let's increase the kind words and the kind spirit.
I love that. So beauty starts within and then radiates outward.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I'd love to open up the floor to questions. If anyone has, way in the back there, if you want to come up to the mic, you can. It's all the way up here. And you might have to make sure, oh, you can pull it out. Yeah, oh, it's behind. Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you for doing this panel. It's been so interesting. You talked about the $1 billion or the billion-dollar business of beauty, and I'm just wondering how much space is left in there. Is it infinite or not for, say, niche companies to start creating new makeup lines or new hair care or hair extension lines? Because I feel like it's completely saturated, and I don't know how much of the pie anybody's business is getting. I'd be curious to know what you think about that. And then, of course, creating is one thing, but then you've got to spend money marketing and, all of those other elements that go into it. And so many of the larger companies really have the edge or the market on that. But then there's also the idea of you start your own and then you're bought by a larger company. And how often does that happen, or what does it take to get that to happen? Thank you.
Well, I think we live in an abundant universe. I think there's enough for everyone. And first. And also, it is a business. And it's a very, very difficult business. I don't know the statistics on black women going to business for themselves now, but it's a very large statistic. And it makes you want to, get that licensing contract back. So what was I thinking? Because it's really difficult, but it's also very challenging, and it's very exhilarating, to see yourself build something brick by brick. So I think that as far as saturation of a market, I think that it's saturated to the point where something really good comes in, like Apple or iPhone, and then all of a sudden it's not so saturated anymore because everybody wants that. So I do believe in an abundant universe. I believe in building a business with a partner that really does know business, because there is a very specific way to go about it. It's not enough to have a passion. It's great, but it just doesn't equal dollars all the time. And that if a market from a business point of view is very saturated, I think that that's something that has to be considered. I find, as far as the hair market goes, is that it is a fragmented market, meaning that it's all over the place. Everybody got a hairline. You know, I got a hairline, you got a hairline. And it's like a pyramid. And there's a lot of junk down here. And it's a swimming pool and everybody's in it. So you might want to come up here. I'm not up here. I'm not where Beyonce is. I'm right here, where there's not so many people in the swimming pools. And those are kind of business models that you want to go after. So it's, you know, thinking like a business person.
And yes.
Hi, first of all, I don't think anybody's up there with Beyonce. I just think she's up there. My question is probably a good follow-up to the prior question, and the impact of crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, Kickstarter. How do you think that will impact the businesses you've been talking about, women starting their own businesses in general? Just kind of curious.
Yeah, Shark Tank, it works for me. My favorite television show.
I can definitely speak to say that when I'm working with the social media team at ebony.com and we're seeing all of these companies starting because there's one person who said, I want to do this, I'm passionate about it, and they have 1,300 followers, and those 1,300 followers tell their 500 followers, and their 500 followers tell their 200 followers. Like, it is making a big impact. And I actually have a friend who raised about $5,000 just to start her own inspirational website. This is not a product here. She just has a website to inspire young women who are teenage mothers. So watching her do that, I was like, wait, what? You know, people really want to support other people, believe it or not. And if you have I mean, granted, she's not selling a product, but if you have a product or a message that people are just yearning for, it's a lot of thirst out there. Like, people are thirsty for something organic and something real and something different. Like, don't think that they're not. And that's not saying that these big companies aren't offering it, but it does feel oversaturated at times. So sometimes you do want something fresh and something different. People are willing to support you, and in doing so. So I believe, just from the digital space that I'm working in, it's going to make a big impact, and you'll be very surprised at how much support you'll get if you really are, like, serious about it and you have a real focus on it. I think it'll be a big deal.
I'm just going to piggyback off of that. Even when you look at Beyonce at the Grammys, I mean, I love Beyonce, but her stylist found her dress on Instagram.
Yeah.
She found the designer on Instagram, Michael Costello, and now he's all over the place. So it's just a testament to that. Everybody's telling everybody, and everybody's looking in social media and those kickstart smart, small companies to deliver something big. So.
And to also offer to that, people are investing in niche markets. So even though it might be oversaturated, it might still be something that I'm yearning for that I can't find in these big companies. And oh my God, I just found this one woman on Instagram who knows how to do makeup for dark-skinned girls. And she just so happened to start her own makeup company. I'm going to buy from her. It's just, it sounds weird, but I do believe there's an abundance in this weird way, because I would prefer to buy from this woman than maybe a big company, just because I found her and she is all about women who are my complexion. So I definitely think it depends on the niche too that you're focused on.
Yeah. And people buy, I mean, you know, we live in a country where, you know, we don't need another dress, you know, you don't need another watch, you know, people buy from emotion.
Right.
It's an emotion that is what makes you buy something. So when the story is there and you touch someone, or the product really talks to you, is why you buy it. And so that's just another business principle.
I need another dress.
I
do. Right, a question in the back. Right here, yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, could you contextualize that moment when you were on the cover of Vogue? How did you find out? What was the shoot like? What was the reception by the other models? Did you feel the weight of that moment? You know, I've read so much about it, I've seen the cover, but I never heard your personal story. And I think it's just great. So I really would like to know the inside of that moment.
I'm going to give you a very, very short version, because that's another panel and another day and another book. It's in the book. And I can't even put it in the book, I tell you. You never knew when you were going to be on the cover until you were on the cover. So I was working for Vogue, and I wanted to be, I had mentioned it to the agent, which was Eileen Ford at the time, that I wanted to be on the cover of Vogue. She said, what are you, crazy? You'll never be on the cover of Vogue. I was like, well, I wonder why is that? You know, when you're young and you're naive, I particularly was like Teflon. So I left Eileen Ford and I went to Wilhelmina because I knew this was another agency that would champion that idea of me being on the cover of Vogue, but I didn't burn my bridge with Eileen Ford. I said, you're like a parent to me. This is a business decision. I hope you welcome me back. And so I went with Wilhelmina, and however she did it, I got the cover of Vogue. I remember the day the phone call came in. I was in my sleep in the morning, which is rare because, you know, worked a lot at that particular time. I think I was in the business maybe 3 years. And said, you're on the cover. And I'm the cover of what? I'm the cover of Vogue. And I didn't believe it. And I ran down to the newsstand. And there it was. You know, that's the only place you could buy magazines. I was like, oh my God. And it's pretty too, because then they could take some really ugly pictures of you. And it was a pretty picture. I was like, oh my God. You know, everybody's waiting in line, you know, all the New Yorkers, you know, getting their magazine, you know, their newspapers and cigarettes and everything. I'm like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Get to the newsstand. I said, can I see the Vogue magazine? He gives me a magazine. I said, this is me. And he was like, yeah. I was like, and I said, oh, God. I said, I ran out of the house, I didn't have my money. You know, I just lived right around the corner. Can I take this? I promise I'll come right back. He said, if this was you on the cover, you would have the money to do it. Next!
I think we have time for one more question.
I was going to ask, back to the business side of things. Obviously, discrimination is both, you know, against people of color, against women. I mean, heavy people. I mean, there's all sorts of discrimination in the workplace. Do you find nowadays being an entrepreneur is probably the best way to go? You know, sort of take charge of your own career, or as we were discussing at the last panel, the notion of Jay-Z changing Barney's from within. You know, is it better to be working within the corporate structure to sort of lend your opinions, or is it better just to say, I'm on my own, I'm going to create that new thing and do my own thing?
Well, that depends. I really feel that, I mean, for myself, that I needed to, I knew I needed a certain leverage in order to speak out, in order to bring in the black makeup artists and the black hairstylists, which weren't in the business when I was there. I had to get to a certain point where I said, you know what, this is not working anymore. I really need Joey Mills to come in. They were, who's Joey Mills? I said, just wait and see. So I think that, you know, it depends. It's really great to get in the business and to learn the business. You got to know every part about that business before you go out on your own. And then there's some people that, you know, just go out on their own and just, you know, take a leap of faith. So I think it depends. What do you ladies think?
I would have to agree. I think there's a benefit to both sides. I mean, I think changing the workplace from within, you learn how to build your business when you're working for somebody. And ultimately, that's how I've seen it. One day, of course, I want to be my own boss. I do not want to be answering to anyone else. But I think there's a benefit to making sure that you learn every aspect you can under somebody else's umbrella. There's a benefit to that. And I think you'll see a lot more people choosing the entrepreneurial route, but I don't want to say the smarter people choose that route, but I think there's a benefit to both.
And can I just say one thing about the discrimination thing? And I can't stand discrimination in any form, you know, gays, you know, heavy people or whatever. But there's just something about the African American and our history of slavery that is so much more dynamic, or I shouldn't say so much more dynamic, which is in a totally different ballgame than any other discrimination going around. Because, you know, we got to go around with this skin color everywhere we go. And we can't pretend to be somebody else, and we can't pretend that slavery never happened, and we can't pretend that discrimination is not still happening. And sometimes I've got like a little pet peeve about, you know, some of the other things that people are being discriminated against because you drink water and you don't drink, you know, not that simple, but I just feel that the African American and what we've had to endure and continue to endure in this country is something that should be on its own platform. And so, and it's something that is, you know, for me as a black woman and for me as someone that stood on someone else's shoulders, Naomi Sims, to get where I've gotten, and hopefully have opened the doors for, you know, the Tyra Banks, and, you know, the Chanel Imans, that we don't forget where we came from and what we've been through.
Do you want to add something?
Just back to your question, and great point. I think it works hand in hand. My father was the first African American to go to Duke University, so from a very, and my mom is a lawyer, she's a CPA, and she's an MBA. From growing up, it was school, structure, corporate, go to school, but then I chose the route of this entertainment, becoming Miss USA, and I have to say, from life experience and networking and meeting people, I've learned a tremendous amount. Not to downplay school, because I'm probably going to go to some sort of graduate school, but from life experience and meeting people here in New York, I've learned a lot. So it can work hand in hand, being in corporate or.
Well, thank you very much. This was a very engaging panel. I love that it took some twists and turns, just like a good hairstyle, right? So I just want to thank our panel. It's Melanie, Nana, Ms. Johnson, Danika. I want to make sure I say it right. Thank you so much, and I want to thank you for being an amazing audience this whole day. It's just been an incredible experience, and one we look forward to bringing to you again in the future. So thank you.